All right.
GPS signal lost.
All right. Just turn off my my GPS signal. Okay. A little crazy today for me. All right, thank you, folks. Welcome to the Town of Mount Pleasant Planning Board meeting, regularly scheduled for August 7th, 2025, 7:30 p.m. First up, we have business items, and to provide little context of what business items are, those are items that we have reviewed in the past. The board has discussed it, and we've either asked the consultant to draft a resolution, or there's other administrative items that we're going to go through. There's a number of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They shouldn't take too long, but just bear with us as we go through it. First up, for business items, request for a 180-day extension of resolution of approval for subdivision application number SD 21-03 in one lot with existing single-family residence to be subdivided into 2 lots for the purpose of constructing another single-family dwelling at 25 Meadowbrook Road, Pleasantville, New York, 106.12-2-32, James Earl. Okay, so this is something we have approved in the past. What's going on here?
They're asking for a 180-day extension. They have not satisfied all their approval conditions yet.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board members?
This is their first extension?
I think it's their second, maybe third.
Okay, I thought so.
Any other questions or comments? So with that being said, what is the pleasure of the board for this particular resolution?
I move adoption of the resolution for approval of the extension.
Motion from Eileen.
Second.
Second from Walter. Walter.
Aye.
Jane.
Aye.
Eileen.
Aye.
And aye for me. Second is adoption of a resolution of approval for site plan application PSP 25-01, wetland application number W25-01, and steep slopes application number SS 25-01 for New York City DEP Kensico Eastview Connection KEC, Contract 4 Shoreline Stabilization of the Kensico Reservoir to protect an additional 1,600 linear feet from storm related turbidity near the reservoir intake, upper effluent chamber, including the removal of accumulated sediments in support of the existing water supply use, grading and tree removal within the 50-foot wetland buffer. And again, this is something we've reviewed in the past. We've had a public hearing. We have closed the public hearing. We've asked the consultant to draft a resolution, which he has done, and the board has reviewed that resolution, and now the board needs to make a decision what they want to do with that resolution.
And Mr. Chairman, we have DEP looked at the resolutions there. They've offered 3 recommended modifications to them.
Yeah.
The first is, and these are all in the site plan resolution, the first related to their commitment to stay under the 1 acre disturbance area for our SWIP requirements. They may exceed that in certain instances, so rather than having to come back to you to modify the resolution, they're asking to modify that language, which we've done in some instances in the past. It simply establishes what would happen if they exceeded the 1 acre requirement and what would have to happen. So that's not a big issue, and it doesn't bind them. The second issue related to a reference we included in the resolution to monarch butterfly habitat, which does not apply in the shoreline area. It applied on the other portion of the site, and it was taken from that other resolution. It does not apply in this instance, so they're asking for that to be removed. And they're also, there was reference to the truck routes that related to the other work at the Kensico site where there was lots of truck traffic. For this, there is no removal of material, so there would not be that truck traffic. So that condition, they've suggested modifications to. So
Okay.
with those 3 modifications, everything else would remain the same.
It doesn't seem unreasonable or burdensome. They seem to be pretty status quo.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or comments from board members?
Is there a threshold for the amount of disturbance over the 1 acre where?
So that relates to our SWIP requirements and what
Right.
type of SWIP gets filed. So once you're below 1 acre, you don't have to do certain things. Once you exceed the 1 acre requirement, there are other mandatory things.
No, I understand. I'm asking, so if they exceed it by like 2 acres, what is it going to be when the building department will step in
so
instead of us just?
that would be in the hands of the building department. So when they file each individual building permit to do the work, They would determine if the 1 acre is being exceeded. If it is, it triggers a different set of material that gets submitted.
Okay,
And by the way, it's probably the engineering department that would
Okay.
evaluate that.
yes.
Okay, any final questions or comments?
3 different resolutions, Mr. Chairman, and do them independent.
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for the applicant. Is that permissible at this point?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, please come up.
Good evening. Do you need me to state my name?
Yes.
Please.
Hi, I'm Deborah Kiesler. I'm an accountable manager on the Kensico Eastview Shoreline Stabilization Project for DEP.
So at the public hearing, a resident came up and he had concerns about vibrations coming from your construction site.
Yes.
And members of the board thought it might be due to vibratory rollers for compaction or paving that you may have been doing. The board requested DEP look into the matter and mitigate this vibration coming out of the site. So my question is, what is the status of that?
I'm not sure that I can fully answer the question. What I can tell you is that I know the next morning, our very first meeting of the day, we meet with everybody, and the comments were brought back to the folks on the site, and there was a ripple effect across the project teams to make sure that they understood that we would need to respond to any comments that came back in from the community about vibrations in the future. There was some thought that some of the vibrations had occurred while they were doing the compaction for the road that is completed, and I believe there was another piece of that complaint or concern that related to the speed of trucks and the Jake brakes being used, and everyone has been advised to be careful with their speeds so that they are not at a speed where a Jake brake needs to be applied.
Okay.
So I don't know if I can answer any better than that at this point. I'm not always at the site trailer.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for looking into the matter.
I'm wondering if, because they're going to keep coming back to us for different things. I'm wondering if we should almost have some metrics to understand how many, every time you come back to us, how many people are coming back to us with those complaints.
So we actually have a monthly meeting with everybody in the building and DEP, and that's where we go over what has complaints that have come in, status of the work, and so forth. So we do have a mechanism that's in place now to follow up on all of those issues. And our next meeting, I think, is in 2 weeks. So there is a mechanism, Jim,
Yeah,
to
so that's
follow
gonna,
up.
so that'll be, just put it this way, that'll be a perpetual problem, and I think it's gonna have to be a problem that we're gonna have to ask for that data to be provided when we come back to the planning board.
Yeah, the good news is that the intention of that meeting is to hold their feet to the fire. If there's been a complaint, they're obligated to give us an answer to that at their next regular status meeting. So
You're
there
almost
is a
interested-
feedback loop that's embedded with the supervisor and staff, not just the building department.
It's my understanding that if we get a noise complaint into this office, it's immediately communicated to the site and altered. It's not strictly a 1 month, oh, we'll just wait around to the next reporting period to hear about a complaint and resolve it. Just if that helps.
Because I'd be interested in not just the numbers, but the metrics around the numbers, but also the verbatims around the numbers. Meaning, let's just put it this way, I'm gonna double click into it in the future, because we're gonna need to, right? So we're gonna
Right.
need to understand how many people are calling in, and what are they actually saying? Are they saying things that are unreasonable or reasonable? And that could be up for interpretation, but I think those metrics would be pivotal for future applications.
Actually, Jim, we can collect that information and provide it to you, so you've got
Yeah.
a sort of summary of what's been going on.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Happy to do that.
This is what we're here to do, so, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so anything else from board members? Okay, we have a site plan, we have a wetland application, and we have steep slope application. So we have to approve each one of those resolutions or disapprove those, that resolution, whichever way the board wants to go. So we take them one at a time.
So if you want to do the site plan first, it would be subject to those 3 revisions I mentioned earlier.
Correct.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution of the approval for the site plan application with the three conditions that Pat spelled out.
Motion from Jane,
Second.
second from Walter. Walter?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Aye from me. Okay, we have two more to go.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the wetland application in steep slope, just the wetlands.
Motion from Jane,
Second.
second from Eileen. Walter?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
And an aye from me. And third, and final one would be steep slope.
I'll continue. I'll make a motion that we adopt the steep slopes application.
Motion from Jane,
Second.
second from Eileen. Walter?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
And aye from me. Okay, now got through that. Next up, and thank you, adoption of resolution for steep slope application number SS 25-05 for the development of a single-family dwelling, new driveway, well, an on-site wastewater septic system on vacant parcel on Leroy Road, on Bristol Lane, Chappaqua, known as 70 Leroy Road, in the R40 zoning district, 99.6-2-20-2.2. Sean Shepherd is the owner. That's a resolution that we have reviewed and we have come to presumably some sort of conclusion as individuals, and now we talk about it as a collective group. Any thoughts or comments on that resolution? Let the record show there's no thoughts or comments. There's thoughts, just not comments. What is the pleasure of the board for this particular application?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution for the steep slopes application.
Motion from Walter,
Second?
second from Jane. Walter,
Aye.
Jane,
Aye.
Eileen,
Aye.
and an aye from me. Okay. We're getting through it, folks. Next one up is adoption of a resolution of approval for site plan application number PSP-25-3 for the legalization of the installation of a 60 kilowatt generator for River Valley Wine Cellars, 9 Skyline Drive, Hawthorne, 116.8-1-12.4, OB6 zone, M&S Storage LLC owners.
Pat, in the resolution, you made reference to meeting the conditions of the town engineer. I didn't go back and look at his letter, but was there something about bollards?
They were shown on the site plan.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. As you know, the best condition is no condition, so
Yes.
just put it on the plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Any final questions or comments? Going once, going twice, going 3 times? Okay. Okay, so what is the pleasure of the board for this?
I would move adoption of the resolution for resolution of approval as presented by the town planner.
Motion from Eileen,
Second.
second from Walter. Walter,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
Eileen,
Aye.
and aye from me. Okay, and the final one of the business items, there's more after that for other items. Business item, last one, is acceptance of minutes drafted from the 7/21/2025 planning board meeting.
How does that work? I was not at that meeting, so you only have 3 voting members. Does that matter?
Yeah, so that we can't adopt them, we would have to put it on the next meeting.
Okay, so that one we'll put on hold for now.
You can post them.
Okay. Next up, new public hearing. Okay, folks, this is a public hearing, so there's only one public hearing. This is one where we welcome and encourage the participation of the community to provide comments. But this particular one is 145 Pythian Avenue, legalization of an existing accessory apartment and walkout basement. Application accessory apartment number AA 25-01, location 145 Pythian Avenue, Hawthorne. Section block lot number is 111.20-1-21. Zone R20. Owner is Donna Carpentieri. Applicant is Domofsky Architecture. Okay, Mr. Domofsky, and as a public hearing, we want to speak more to the public than to us because we've heard your presentation.
Sure.
So And if there's anybody here from the public who'd like to come closer and hear what's going on, you're welcome to come closer. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Wait, one sec, it's a new public hearing.
I did forget that.
I'll make a motion that we waive the reading of the public
You
notice.
didn't even need the sign.
No,
She
you
just
didn't.
has to wait.
Sorry.
No problem.
You need help up here, you know, once in a while I forget things, thank you for
Okay, So that
remembering.
was my motion.
Our motion's out there, so, motion from
Second.
Jean, second from Eileen, Walter,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
Eileen,
Aye.
and I from me. Thank you.
So, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So we're here for a legalization of accessory apartment at 145 Pythian Avenue. The house is an existing two-story, single-family home with the apartment in the basement. Typical split-level house. It's the apartment right now is about 694 square feet. By code, we're allowed to have 600 square feet, and I believe Paulette at the last meeting requested the board to consider the 94 square feet be waived by the planning board. All the requirements of the accessory apartments, all the requirements are met in here, other than that one request that we're asking for. The property's of adequate size. There's enough parking on the site for the 4 required parking spots. We're graphically showing it right here. There was a New York State variance requested for a height problem in the inside of the basement. We had as you know, some of these split-level homes have low basements, so we had a beam that was a couple inches below the allowed area, and we just got the approval from New York State for that variance, so it's been granted to us. So when we submit to the building department, that'll be part of our package, and it'll prove compliance. We have public sewer, public water to the site, which is another requirement by the code. And
So, I'm sorry, where were we, that state thing that state thing that we had with this, the height?
that's so, it's,
Right.
it's,
I missed the conversation, I know I did.
so the allowable height in the basement, finished height is 6'4", 6'4" to the lowest beam.
Yep.
We have a beam that's about 6'2".
Yep.
So we have to apply for a state variance, not anything to do with the zoning code or
So my
any
question
local
was, when
codes.
maybe I missed it because I probably dozed off up here. Did we get the okay from the state?
We got the approval from the state.
Thank you. I
Yes.
missed your conversation on that.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
And that'll be submitted to the building department when they
Yep.
review the final building department part of this process.
Thank you for
Yep.
that.
Yep, no problem. So that's really it. It's a 1-bedroom apartment. It's got a living room, dining room, kitchen. The owner is occupying it, will occupy the main dwelling. They have their kids living in the basement, their daughter and their small young family. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed your conversation on that, but yeah, that was the one critical thing that needed to happen was the state thing
Yeah.
that you've gotten, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from board members?
Does the planning board have the authority to waive the 94?
So the code authorizes you to consider up to 100 square feet of an additional square footage for this, so they're within that, so it's your authority.
Okay.
So Pat, how would we do that? Would we do that through a motion to do it to two
So
separate
we would
actions?
include it in, typically we put it in the approval resolution. So if
Gotcha.
you direct the preparation of that resolution, you would also direct me that you are comfortable with the 94 square foot waiver.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments from board members? Okay, so we have a public hearing open. Oh, so which means, it's been a long day, folks. Which means we're here for the public for that, and I almost forgot about the public. It's been a very, very long week, in fact, my apologies. So with that being said, the public is welcome to come up to the board and address any comments. If anybody has a question, comment, concern, thought on the particular application, please raise your hand. If you have a number, you can speak. If you don't have a number, you can't speak. Anybody here from the public for 145 Pythian Avenue? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Let the record show there's no members of the public who are looking to speak on this particular application? So with that being said, getting back to where I was going before, we have a public hearing that is opened. What is the pleasure of the board for the public hearing?
I make a motion that we close the public hearing and direct the preparation of a resolution of approval
Motion from
And
Eileen.
just make it clear for the record, with the.
with
94
the 94 square foot waiver.
Okay, motion from Eileen,
Second?
second from Jane. Walter?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye,
And I for me. Okay, that was painless.
for
Have
us.
a great weekend.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, next up is continuing applications. Those are applications that are being developed. They are not public hearing, and they're getting ready for a public hearing at some point in the future, presuming they have all the ducks in a row.
Thank you.
So first on that list, and there's a total of set people's expectations. We have 1, 2, 3 of those, plus one more new application. So we have continuing application number 790 Hardscrabble Road, subdivision 1 lot into 2 for the development of a one-family dwelling. Application subdivision PSD 25-2, location 790 Hardscrabble Road, Chapel, New York. Section block lot number is 99.6-1-4, zone R40, owner Tarun Gershani. How bad did I do that? Okay, well, okay, we could do better on that. Applicant and architect is Michael Picarillo, architecture.
That's pretty
All right, thank you very much.
good. Good evening, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
So we're back here again, looking to continue the process to adjust the lot line. If you remember, we have 2 lots. My client owns both lots. And we adjusted the lot lines to make them both now legal size lots. We can develop the back portion for a single-family house. Part of the project is to create a flag lot to Hardscrabble Road. And in doing that, you know, the proposed house will meet all zoning regulations, which is great. And my client, from the last time to now, had taken down a detached garage, which was on lot 1, which was triggering a zoning variance. That's been removed, so there's no longer any zoning issues on lot 1, or there were never any zoning issues on lot 2. We received comments from the town today, from the town engineer, and
Yep, I saw
our
it.
engineers are working on those comments. Those are mostly minor. As a one interesting note, they're calling out for an existing or a stone well. That stone well, which is on the site plan, is an old stone well filled with leaves. Does not function as a well anymore, nor would you want to drink out of it. So, we'll respond formally to all the comments. But,
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the notes now from them. Okay. Any questions or comments from board members? I don't know do we think those comments are,
So subject to the answer to those comments,
Yeah.
it may change things on the plan. So
because
typically,
I thought the comments were a bit substantive. That's why I was trying to, I mean, they weren't minor. They were not huge either, but they weren't minor either. So I think we need to make sure that those comments are addressed adequately before we make final decisions. But with that being said, I'd say we could probably for me as one board member, I would think that we could probably, contingent upon getting those things buttoned up, we could do public hearing.
and if they're not, you adjourn the public hearing.
Yeah, so my recommendation to you is I would get those things buttoned up because it's just
Correct.
going to delay the process.
yeah, my engineer is already working on them.
Okay, that's just me. I'm not sure what the other board members think, but that was my thought. Any other questions or comments from the board? Let the record show no additional comments. Okay. So now we have to make a decision. What are we going to do with this application? We know you have to get something buttoned up. We can either schedule a public hearing or not. It's the pleasure of the board to make that recommendation.
I'd like to make the recommendation that we go to a public hearing as long as they address the outstanding comments.
And without without it being addressed, you're not gonna go to public hearing.
I understand.
Second that motion?
Okay, so we have a motion from Walter. And, so Walter,
Aye.
Jane,
Aye.
Arlene,
Aye.
and an aye for me. Okay, we'll see you at the public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up, 6 Sawmill Road, Hawthorne, amendment of previously approved site plan number PSP 24-01, restaurant with venue space. The amendment includes additions to the existing buildings, 2 outdoor bars, accessory structure, patios, and parking lot expansions. Some of these actions will partially take place within steep slope, very steep and excessively steep slope areas. Application site plan number PSP 25-4, steep slopes number SS 25-06, location 6 Sawmill Road, Hawthorne, section block lot number is 116.7-1-15, zone RCB, zone CRB, owner is La Cité Realty LLC, applicant engineer is Ralph Alfonsetti. Thank you for coming out tonight. Just state your name and all that for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Philippe Manuel Associates. At
Just
the last
to
meeting,
help, you can take that mic and
Yes.
that may help you.
oh, too short. At the last planning board meeting, the board asked us to address a few things in order to be scheduled for the a public hearing, the 18th of this month. So one of them was the board asked for us to show the adjacent residential structure on which is right over there in relationship with to the property line.
Okay.
The board also asked us to address comments from engineering, which the department sent us, and they were addressed. And as of earlier today, there were 3 minor additional comments, which Mr. Alfonsetti, the civil engineer, will address. And thirdly, the board also asked that the landscape plan be provide additional landscaping, which Mr. Figueroa, the landscape architect, will address tonight.
Okay.
So I'll give the microphone to Mr. Alfonsetti, who will address the comments.
All right, thank you. So real quick, just to reiterate, this is the adjacent house. It's approximately 57 feet from the edge of the house to this property line, and approximately 65 feet from the edge of the house to this property line. That's from GIS, so it's not exact, so it's plus or minus. Just make that
Yep.
clear to everyone.
Yeah, and the reason why I think it's important, just so you know, the madness, the reason to my madness is, it's your only adjoining property owner really that has a home. So, and obviously, if this does move forward to a public hearing, we would want to make sure that the owner of that home is aware of changes to this application. And also the board can also have a good understanding of what's there, and get a good picture of where everything is. So thank you for bearing with me on that.
Yep, absolutely.
And there will be signs out on the road, right? Because I believe that is a rental property, so that
Yeah.
person would not receive notice, but they would see the sign out on the property.
Correct.
Okay.
So this is the engineering layout plan, and it does show the house and garage on this plan also that was submitted to the board. So we've addressed the engineering comments from the town engineer. He had 3 additional or clarification comments. One was technical in nature. It was about the void ratio in the stormwater calculations. That's a relatively easy fix. The next one was access to the rear, if there's any maintenance or repairs that have to be done in this area. He just wants me to show arrows on plan, so there's a 12-foot alleyway in this location right here that we can get back there. And then the last one was there's a proposed wall in this location. It appears to be greater than 6 feet. It is not. There is an existing topography, I'll call it a shift. It's a little bit inaccurate, but it it will be 6 feet or less.
Okay, and then we'll let the town engineer weigh in on that one way or the other.
Yeah, Ralph, provide that detail to Dave if you would.
Yep, absolutely. I just didn't get a chance to talk to him.
No, yeah, I saw the note come out today. It was late in the day, so, but the town engineer, before you come back before us anyway, he's gonna have to address, you know, if he confirms that statement. Okay,
Okay.
anything else?
Not for me, if you have any questions for me, or I can pass it on to the landscape architect.
Any questions for now?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The new glass structure, is that the gray building on the left?
This one, yeah.
That one there? And that's where primarily the venue will be held? Like dinner being served, et cetera? And there'll be, say, be musical entertainment in that structure as well?
Correct. That would be the, what we call the special events room. Yeah.
So the adjacent homeowner is the building just to the north of it, right, directly behind it?
That's over there?
So with the new glass structure, will that have egress doors that will open in the vicinity of this this house that's behind it?
The egress doors will be right over here in that notch over there,
Yeah.
and right over there. There's be two of them at the end of the building, of the structure.
Because my concern is that when the doors open up, the music and the whatever's going on and all the noise emanates out, which
Mhm.
would be focused right towards that house.
Well, it's right against, possibly, yes. Yeah, but it's right against the existing building over there. There's almost like a 10 by 10 almost shaft over there. So when the door opens, it opens right in front of the existing building. So that sort of would muffle the sound a little bit.
And that the walls of that glass structure, they're fixed, they don't open.
Yes, and it'd be insulated for sound. It's a special glass.
And no windows, no openings.
No, I guess not. It's all
So
fixed.
if there are,
Mhm.
it has to be self-closing,
Mhm.
and the condition of the approval will be that they're not allowed to be open when
Correct.
events going on.
Yeah.
So be aware that that's a concern, so
Mhm.
if it can be,
Mhm.
if you can eliminate any openings and put
Sure.
in windows, try to do that.
Sure, that's fine.
Are those doors, and I know the answer to the question, I'm presuming the answer to the question, do those doors lead to two doors, meaning there's a vestibule?
Sure. So this is the special event room. So in this corner, there'll be egress door here and the egress door there. Obviously, in the vestibule will be here. So obviously, the egress has to be to the outside. So, and what I was talking about was the existing wall, building wall is here. So when you open the door, it's right in front of it. So there's like almost like an open 10 by 10 area there on this side and that side of it.
Yeah, I guess my thought was if you had two doors,
Mhm.
by the time you get through the first door, the back door is closed, and that may help with the attenuation, but that's just,
Like you have at the vestibule at the front, you have the double set of doors there.
Oh, you're saying like another vestibule within those to muffle the sound?
I'm just thinking, you know, I'm just thinking if the public comes, that may be an avenue to pursue. I don't know, I'm not recommending, because that's not my job to do that. But just an idea, like, you know, if there was a big concern, you could theoretically think about that.
But by code, the egress has to be
Yeah.
directly to the outside. It's not,
But
you know,
but
can't,
I think the chairman's point is you can create sort of an airlock. So the unusual condition
Mhm.
here is that a bride is sweating and she's gonna go and open a door. We don't control that, we have no ability to control that, and if that door is facing that neighbor, there's a problem. So if there's an interior door to vestibule and then another door, you may have solved the problem with something like that. So obviously, building code, they have to comply with the building code. But you're hearing a concern that theoretically there are clever ways to mitigate. So think about that.
You know what we mean? I think you do, right?
No, I do, I
Yeah,
do,
yeah.
yeah, I do.
And it may be the wrong solution, I don't know,
Yeah.
but just,
But that neighbor will call the cops at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday night, and the cops will show up. So it's in your best interest to think of a solution that prevents that from happening.
okay. Any other questions?
Boys, I gotta piss off that bride.
Okay, we have no any questions for this, but never look at the landscaping plan?
My name is Edward Figura, landscape architect. In regards to the neighbor, since we're on the subject of the neighbor, we're proposing intense evergreen screening along this property line to try to create a buffer in that property. And we've also added the 3 trees to the front along the road, as you suggested.
It's my
So 3 flowering dogwoods.
It's my goal in life to go down that road and see more trees.
Sure.
So thank you for that little
Yeah.
help there. Thank you for that. Okay, any other questions from board members on the landscaping plan?
Is there a way to extend that property line for the neighbor's house, or is it the topography doesn't allow?
Where is that, on this side?
Yeah,
here?
can you go all the way?
I can add more trees. Yeah.
I would,
Yeah, we can extend that a little further.
the evergreens.
Evergreens, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
What kind of evergreens are they?
These were blue spruce.
Okay.
That's
Those
nice.
are good, I just read that those are good for sound muffling.
They're not white pines. White pines have been a point of contention in different applications over the years. They can just get huge and
Mhm.
they get to be a little bit messy. So that's not a bad trade. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Let the record show there's no additional comments on the landscaping plan. All right. I don't think we need to go into the concern. I think the board have expressed concerns on parking and the traffic. That I'm sure there'll be more conversation about that if there was a public hearing. I don't know, we need to get into that today, but I think it may be a topic of conversation. Also, the ingress and egress, thank you, as well probably be a point of contention when the public hearing does or does not happen. But the pivotal question is it ready for a public hearing? Now, we do have 3 items we saw from the building inspector today that, like the previous application, would need to be addressed.
2 of them are inconsequential details. The third really related to if the grading was changing. And as you heard Mr. Alfonsetti say, it's not. So I think you're okay.
So, yeah, so to be clear, if the board, which is my colleagues here, decide to schedule a public hearing, we would not go to public hearing unless those 3 items were clarified. We have to have a hook once in a while to make sure people, do what we need them to do. But with that being said, what is the pleasure of the board for 6 Sullivan Road? Do we think it's ready for a public hearing or not, with the provision that they address these other issues?
I think they're ready for a public hearing, and I'm eager to hear what the public has to say. So I would make a motion that we schedule a public hearing, subject to them meeting the conditions of the town's engineer.
Okay, motion from Eileen,
Second?
second from Jean. Walter?
Aye.
Jean? Eileen?
Aye.
And aye from me. Okay, we'll see you at the public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, next up is 1161. I was going to do 1161, but it's, I don't know. 1161 Bedford Road, Pleasantville, New York. Building an addition with wetlands buffer, which I'm glad our CAC friend is here today. I'd like to hear from him at this, on this. Application wetlands W25-03. Location is 1161 Bedford Road, Pleasantville, New York. Section block lot number is 105.19-1-31. Zone R40. Owner Cassandra Simmons. Applicant and architect Sergio Martin, Architecture and Design. Welcome, welcome.
There's instructions on the TV. Do you want to take the power cord to
So on the back of the TV, there's a
remote? Can you open this up away a little bit? And maybe the remote is down.
There we go.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Sergio Martin.
So, Mr. Sucher, can you grab the mic? You can take it out of the mic if you want, if it's easier. And it can
So-
just, one more time for the record so they can hear you.
My name is Sergio Marin. I'm the architect for 1161 Bedford Road.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we are building, or we're looking to build an addition here in the wetlands setback and extend the porch outside.
Sergio, take the microphone with you while I'm talking.
Sorry.
Can you see around that stand? Can you see around that?
Yeah, I'm okay.
You okay? Okay.
Okay, so we're also doing a extension of the front porch to add some curb appeal. So in the back, most of the addition is going to take place where there's a deck there already. So there's only like 78 square feet of additional square footage that we are encroaching into the wetlands area. So,
So how far are you encroaching into the wetland area? Just to make sure I understand.
all right, hold on. 78 square feet. So here, it's a color-coded diagram of the areas. That 78 square feet, that's the additional. The rest of the addition is gonna go where the deck was.
So can I just do the math on it? So today, 1/3 of the home today is in the wetland buffer.
Yes,
So what's proposed is 76 or 78 feet
Yes.
of additional in the buffer or in the wetland itself?
in the buffer, and an additional, I don't know, 30 feet of the front porch, which is, it's covered, but it's not enclosed.
Okay.
So there's not gonna be, this is a one-story house with a walkout basement. The addition is in the first floor. It's gonna be supported by piers. So there's no basement foundation walls. Same with the porch is sort of like a deck with columns on piers.
Okay, and where on that property, there's a stream that leads to the Mechanical River. Where on that property is there a stream?
Okay. This is the stream. and it runs right through the property. The stream is contained by retaining walls. So there's the wetlands. One of the comments that the engineer had was that the buffer zone could be larger, but this stream is contained, so outside of that wall, there's no wetlands, vegetation, or anything that delineates that it's wetlands. I have pictures.
But it's still a wetland, right? At the
Well,
end of the
it's
day.
wetlands buffer.
Well, there's a stream, so
Yeah, the stream is wetlands.
and there's retaining walls inside of the stream, but it's still, at the end of the day, is a wetland. I don't want to diminish the importance of saying, you know, regardless of the vegetation on the sides of the river or the stream, it's still a wetland. I don't want to diminish the fact that it is a wetland. Plus, it's got a stream through it.
So, Mr. Chairman, I can just clarify that. So it's classified as a riverine wetland. It is channelized within retaining walls. However, those retaining walls may or may not reflect the accurate edge of the wetland. The wetland buffer could be larger than a retaining wall. We don't know that. So a photograph doesn't answer that question. Typically, there's an analysis that provides that answer.
Correct, but yeah, and I think we're saying the same thing. I just want to make sure. I'm trying to say, because it's late in the day for me, just because the vegetation is not typical of a wetland does not diminish the fact that it's a wetland. That's my point.
Right, and if they stop mowing the lawn, the wetland vegetation could exist on the other side of the wall. So there has to be some conclusion from someone that's qualified to provide that analysis documenting that. And it may be that it does follow the wall. Could be, but we just don't know that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
No, you have anything else to go?
No. What is the next step?
Oh.
I have one question. Does the river overflow the banks there? The walls, do they have flooding?
Okay, that's hardly a river.
The water course. How about that? The water course.
Yeah, it's it's mud,
Okay.
basically.
So they don't experience flooding in their basement as a result of coming from this
I have
water
not,
course? They have not
heard
said
that.
so. Okay.
I mean, I don't know how we describe a river versus a stream, but again, I don't want to diminish it with the words
Oh,
we
yes.
use.
Okay.
So, because it is at the end of the day, has some wetland aspect to it, whether it's got native plants or non-native plants, or whether it's a stream or a river, it has wetland elements.
And there's a lot of information that's available to help answer these questions. So for example, the flooding question.
It's not in the flood zone.
So that's one of the answers to that question. If
Okay.
it's not in the FEMA designated flood zone, that suggests we don't have a flooding issue.
It's not anywhere near a flood zone.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is the retaining wall, is that made of block?
It looks like it's made of block.
And was that constructed by this homeowner or a previous homeowner?
That was there when they moved in.
Because I was thinking the same thing you were thinking. Why is that block wall there, and how do we?
And it doesn't look that old.
How
It
do
doesn't
we-
look like it's been there for 100 years.
How do we make this better? If we were to go down the path of, which I don't know if we would or we're not, if we were to go down the path, how do we make this whole thing better?
So, Mr. Chairman, that's exactly the point. So normally, and I'm sure Steve will talk
Yep.
about this, but normally you don't just grant a wetland permit, there's some mitigation that's done in
Right.
order to grant the wetland permit. So there isn't any at the moment. So one of the things, by the way, the recommendation is we now have a new wetland consultant on board, so
Yep.
he should probably be engaged on this project.
Yeah. Any other questions? I have one final comment to make. I want to point out that Mount Pleasant has a wetland buffer that's not arduous. In fact, many other towns are far more arduous.
Yes.
And as a general rule, the board has always been concerned about encroachment into wetlands, especially as the weather patterns have changed and flooding's been happening all over the place. And people who are suffering with, and not necessarily in this site, I don't know if they are or not, but it's something we take very, very seriously. Very seriously. We have to make sure that we're doing this the right way, and we have to make sure that we make the environment better and not worse. So with that being said,
And one final point, Mr. Chairman, the DEC did provide some guidance as to what permits may be required. They did note, as we would have noted, that a jurisdictional determination is also required for this. So the DEC may assume control over this wetland permit as
Yep.
well. So the JD has to be filed and they have to give us an permit.
okay, unless there's any other questions from our board, I know we have our favorite member of the CAC here.
I have one board member I
I'm sorry.
prefer even more than Steve Cappy.
Oh, that's true.
I said there's one board member on the Conservation Advisory Council who is, I like even more than I like you.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
so-
thank you. He's gonna, yeah, he's gonna come up and provide some input.
So,
We'll get back to you.
Good evening, Stephen Cavey, Conservation Advisory Council Chair. So, first, let me say the Conservation Advisory Council, as we all know, has a particularly narrow construct of what we do. It's different from the planning board. We look at the code and we look at the application and we come up with our recommendations based on the code and based on what we consider to be the environmental issues at play. And so what we have here is a home that's already about 1/3 built within the wetlands buffer. So that already creates a detrimental impact on the buffer area. What we've also got is a channelized stream, which probably, or almost certainly, has no permitting or any approval for that that change of the naturalized stream. So we've got situations here that are already contrary to the intent and purpose of wetlands codes and for the goal of preserving, protecting wetlands and buffers. What the applicant is looking to do is to, it seems to me, to capitalize on the fact that there's already an encroachment of a deck, and now, because that is already there, that let's just build over it and call it even. And I'm not sure that that really is a correct assessment. But let's put that aside for the moment, and let's just talk about impacts and what the as has been stated, what the applicant has suggested or not suggested, which is what we look for with an application like this is, have alternatives been looked at? Is there any other option that would not encroach or create any more additional encroachment or any additional impacts on the buffer? Buffer areas are very important and very valuable, as we all know. And if we continue to build into them and create more disturbance on buffer without any mitigation or without any proper control, then we're losing the entire goals and purpose and intent of the legislation that creates the Wetlands Protection Code. So, you know, you've received our letter.
Yep.
And the council met and discussed this, and from our point of view, we don't endorse this type of construction. It's not consistent with the code, and there are issues with it. Board may have their own determination on this. But one of the things that has sort of been raised here is you've got this channelized stream that I don't think this board would ever have approved if that came before you. So there's no reason that the applicant should benefit from the fact that the stream is channelized and then determine that there's no real buffer anymore because there's already a channelized stream which is already in violation of the code. You've got a house that's already 1/3 in the buffer, and why not just continue to build out on that 1/3? And then on top of the 1/3 that's already in the buffer, let's add another 78 square feet of additional impervious and permanent structure on top of the buffer. So, look, we understand homeowners want to do things with their houses. But when you buy a property that already has a condition that's contrary to the code and that already is subject to a variety of restrictions and conditions, and then you want to go ahead and do further additional work on it, well, there are consequences to that, and you have to understand that there's a review process, and it may not be the appropriate way to handle these types of impacts. So, you know, and the other thing I just want to say is that this board has seen a few somewhat similar applications where homes were built pre-code, and it's not that uncommon. But I have to say that historically what we've seen with these types of applications, this is one of the most substantial. Usually the impact on the buffer of the existing home footprint is very, very minor, de minimis almost. And then whatever additional impact is a few square feet. They're just trying to create an edge or something. So this is a different type of situation. I think it calls the board to assess it differently. And also, I just want to say that, you know, the code is pretty clear about this. Access is something that is commonly approved for a wetlands buffer encroachment. The code doesn't really say go ahead and build on the buffer. We've been down that road many times, and we know that that's not what the code says. So, you know, what I just want to say is I just don't think that it's proper for an application like this to say, we've already got this encroachment, let's go ahead and capitalize on that encroachment. Why not? Let's just build another story, another one-story extension. That's our position on this. I'm not backtracking on what the CAC, and I want to say that this was we had a robust discussion at our CAC meeting, and it was a unanimous decision among CAC members that we felt that it's our obligation to stand by what the code says and make this type of recommendation. What I would say is that if the board makes a determination that's different from what our recommendation might be, clearly there needs to be some mitigation and management. And one of the things that might be an alternative would be to naturalize the stream channel and turn it into something that actually functions for more ecological benefit, more habitat value, and provide greater environmental services.
And Steve, you know, I know you know a lot about that area. That stream leads into the Pocantico River. Why is that important to think about?
Well, the Pocantico is a major river course within the town, and it runs through the Pocantico watershed, which has a tremendous habitat value, and there's a variety of different habitats that it travels through. So when you have impacts from tributaries to larger watercourses, it creates more problems downstream. I mean, I'm not sure I know. Also, I have to say, Mr. Chairman, as many years I've been doing this, I'm not a field biologist and can't give you, you know, microorganism names or anything like that. But the Pocantico River is a water source.
Yeah, because what I did want to thank you for that. If we would, you know, if we would go in this direction, which we may or may not, we would definitely have to get a wetland consultant involved, I would think. But what I heard from the presentation was we were diminishing the value of the wetland because it didn't look like a typical wetland. And probably you could say that maybe on a dry day, when there's, you know, but wetlands are wetlands, and if it's connected somehow to the Pocantico River, it's a significant note to make. And
you know, I wish I'd known about your question earlier, but there was a very interesting study about small tributaries to larger watercourses. It actually had to do with vernal streams and seasonal water impacts. But they discovered that these small watercourses had very significant impacts on larger watercourses and the water quality. And so, and it just stands to reason. I mean, logic would just immediately follow that if you start to disturb the sources and tributaries to larger water sources, watercourses, then you're going to have a problem downstream with them. And so, and the
And I
buffer is
just
what
wanna tag on Steve's point there, it's also hydrological, so the fact that it's been channelized simply sends water to that important water course more promptly, so that's a concern.
And if it's not against town code to do what this homeowner did, it should be.
And he may have gotten a permit, don't know, we have
So-
no evidence of that, probably not, but who knows, and that's something we need to look into.
We would definitely possibly need to see that permit, because I think he could be open up Pandora's box, because if it's a channelized stream, that should not be channeled. And the reason I know that, there was a situation in this town, a while ago, where somebody put a culvert into a stream and covered it over and made the lawn bigger. So they covered the stream and they put dirt on top of it, and now they're happy because now there's big lawn, but now they created environmental issues as well as flooding issues. And that was a huge, huge problem. So, I'd be interested to see if there was any kind of permit on that particular channel, because it positively should, we have to make it very, very clear to existing and new homeowners that when you buy a home with this stream going through it, you can't alter the stream. You can't put walls, unless you go to the town, obviously.
So I will give the applicant credit, they did reach out to the DEC and ask the question. If they were to install those walls in that stream, they would have needed a permit from the DEC. The DEC would have told the applicant, we gave you a permit for this 3 years ago or whatever. They did not say that. So that led me to believe perhaps that work was done without a permit.
It could have been original to the house.
Could have been, could have been.
So at that point, there was no.
Could have been.
Buffer.
Right, so we would have some records to that, we'll look into that, perhaps that's the case, don't know.
I've seen a number of these type of situations where a stream is channelized, especially around Bear Ridge, that area. And it's naturalized at one end of the road, and then all of a sudden it winds up being a straight line channelized next to a one home, and then it goes underground, and then it goes and naturalizes again. So this stuff all happened pre-code in almost all cases. I mean, look, it's certainly possible somebody got away with doing it sometime in the 80s or the 90s. I couldn't say, but it's more common than not that it was done as part of a subdivision or part of the original plan way back before the code even existed.
Yeah.
And nobody cared about this stuff. We do now, though.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Well, that feeds into a pond that's like next door. So.
Okay, there you go.
Which is, I don't know, there's a bunch of pumps on there and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, which, there's an expression, don't sell past the sale. And you're not adding credibility to the applicant if there's a pond next door, frankly.
We're building a one-story addition, not on the ground, and it's encroaching, it's not like.
Okay, yeah, I understand. I saw just let the CAC wrap up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one other thing, and that was the applicant also made some notations and calculations about no need for additional stormwater management because the existing condition is calculated as the already, the number of square feet is based on the existing conditions, and then removing the deck or minuses and then the 78 square feet, so it fell below the threshold for stormwater management. Again, I'd like to see what the town engineer says about that, because I'm not sure that math works. And I also don't think we're talking about like for like. This is not an apples for apples situation. You take a deck and you turn it into a one-story addition, you can't take advantage of that and say it's an existing condition. It's not. It's a change. There's more stormwater impact from that. And the reason why I mention that is not just because the figures should match. The math should work. It's not just that. But if you're going to go ahead and encroach into a buffer area, then you've really got to manage stormwater, and you've really got to make sure that the stormwater is properly infiltrated and doesn't create any additional pollutants that run into this water course, which, for all we know, because it's channelized, the wall's not letting anything in there, but it's also, as Pat said, sending stuff straight down without any infiltration.
Presumably, it's channelized. Partly, you can see there's grass right up to the wall, and that was probably the reason why they put that wall there, was to extend the lawn. So now you're doing lawn type stuff, pesticides and fertilizers, and so there's a lot going on there. So
but, this is the death of 1,000 cuts. Okay,
yeah.
That's what we see here, and And I again am very sympathetic to homeowners who want to expand and improve their home. But our view from the CAC is narrow, and that's what's the code, what's the environmental value, what environmental services are being provided, what can we do to continue to protect a very valuable natural resources, which is watercourses and wetlands buffers, which go together. They're not, it's not the watercourse and it's not a buffer. It's the buffer and the watercourse together. And that's where the calculation has to come in.
Okay, thank you.
You want?
So you heard the board. There's a lot of, I have personally a lot of concerns because I feel like we were diminishing the value of the wetland and or wetland buffer in the presentation. And you know, I think on a good stormy day with a lot of rain coming down, it may be mud, to your point, as you quoted yourself, or I'm quoting you. But on a good rainy day, it's not mud. It's going to be water flowing down that like a river. And that's going somewhere. It's going to that pond down the road that we heard about. Plus there's further down to Countick River. Now with that being said, if the applicant chooses to continue, then I think there's a ton of questions that need to be addressed and answered by somebody who has far more expertise than anybody here today. Would be my thought as one board member today. But any other questions or comments from board members?
No, I would agree with you that we probably should engage the wetland consultant.
Anyone else?
I didn't hear you, Jane. What did
I
you
said I agree that we should engage the wetland consultant.
I agree.
Okay.
I'd also like you to, I don't know what's going on the interior of the space, like could the, as Mr. Cavi mentioned, alternatives, like could it be switched to the other side that it's not in?
No, because the right side where it's not in the buffer zone is the kitchen, the living room, dining room, the entry. So the bedrooms are all in that side.
Okay, and I think the note that we would have for the wetland consultant would be, you know, obviously working in concert with the CAC, but also address the culvert or channel, whatever you want to say, like how do we look at that from that perspective as well?
Yeah, we can help to see if there's any historical information.
And positively, we want to see if there's a permit for that, which I suspect there probably is not. Okay, that being said, we have that in a motion for the wetland consultant.
I move that we engage the wetland consultant to analyze 1161 Bedford Road application.
Motion from Eileen.
Second?
Second from Jean. Walter?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
Is there a letter of recommendation that I'm going to get?
Let me just, I was right in the middle of doing my motion.
Sorry.
So we heard from Jane, and I from Jane, and I from Walter. So now you, Eileen.
Aye.
You threw me off my cadence. An aye from me. Okay. So, Mr. Pancleary, we have all eyes on the wetland consultant with special focus on the channel and all the other good stuff. That being said, you had a question.
Yeah, I wanted to know what can I be doing for, is there a next meeting?
There will not be next meeting with us. The next step would be we would reach out to a wetland consultant, and I think the staff can explain to you that process, and the wetland consultant's going to go out to the site and do a review.
And Sergio, he may reach out to you to get access to the property and so forth, so that would be the next step, he'll reach out to you.
But I will say, the homeowner should be aware of the fact there are grave concerns about this, and if they want to go down the path of spending additional resources and going down that path, that's their prerogative, and that's something we welcome for any applicant, whether we agree with it or not. That's their prerogative. We would always protect that right, but there's grave concerns with the wetland and the protection of the wetland, and we would hope that they would partner with us to ensure that we either protect it and not make things worse, and actually maybe even make things better. So with that being said, there's nothing else from us tonight. So be in connection with the wetland consultant. I'd encourage you to also know that the CACs here on site, they always have a bunch of plethora. It's so long today. Plethora
What
of
did they
information.
do to you at work today?
It's been a long day. I did presentations all day, believe it or not. Now look at me. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can kill that mic.
We off? Lenny,